I'd like to welcome everyone to the 24th Annual State of the City Address. And if you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to welcome some special guests. Of course, the mayor, Bob Eschbach. Commissioners Awesome, Baxter, Eichelkraut, and Whitney. Senator Sue Rezin. State Representative Frank Martino. Illinois Valley Community College President Jerry Corcoran. I'd like to thank Exelon Nuclear LaSalle Station for being our State of the City sponsor. We'd like to thank our Diamond members, OSF St. Elizabeth Medical Center, Sabic Innovative Plastics, Starve Rock Country, the First National Bank of Ottawa, The Times, WCMY 1430 95.3 SAM FM. A special thanks to Pit Sticks Pavilion for their wonderful facility and food. Mayor Bob for his time and effort in delivering the State of the City address. The Ottawa Chamber Ambassadors for all their time they put in. Meg, Boyd, and Crystal for all their hard work on this event. And Don Mamano for serving as Master of Ceremonies again. Thanks everyone for coming, and at this time I'll turn it over to Don.
Here we go again. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. Again, there should be pads and pencils for questions. As Bob is speaking, and if there's any point of interest that you want to ask him anything about, please write down your questions. And the staff from the chamber will be circulating to pick them up, bring them to me, and then when we get to the question and answer session, naturally I'll deliver the more sane questions to Bob. Without any ado then, Bob Eschbach, Mayor of Ottawa.
Thank you. And if you have any questions about our sewer system, don't bother because I'm covering it in detail, believe me. I want to thank you all for being here. Again, thank the Chamber for allowing me to bring you up to date on the state of the city. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes I get up in the morning, I think I have a great idea. And as the day wears on, I realize it's not so great. Well, last night I had a kind of get together at my house for some of our gardening volunteers who turns out are also great partiers. And Al Howard brought over probably about two bushels of tomatoes for people to bring home. Well, most gardeners have their own tomatoes, so I've got all these tomatoes at home. And I thought, God, it'd be neat to bring them to Pit Sticks and put them on the tables. It's kind of like a seasonal centerpiece. And then I'm thinking, a little bit later in the day, what speaker would bring tomatoes to his audience? The other idea I had was I was going to wear my lederhosen, but I didn't. But I did bring my mug. This belongs to Arnie Banstra, and I used it at the first Oktoberfest, and it was made by Arnie here in Ottawa, Illinois. And I learned that it's not necessarily how many beers you drink, but how big the mug is. Because after 3, I kept thinking, God, I'm really getting kind of loaded here, and then I realized. So, Looking back at the last 12 months here, probably I think the most single memorable event was the flood of April 18th, after approximately 6 inches of rain fell in Ottawa and 7 to 14 inches fell upstream in the Fox and Illinois River watersheds. Ottawa experienced river levels 1.5 feet higher than anything we'd ever seen in the past, and we suffered about $250,000 in damages, but nothing like the tragic loss to homes and businesses suffered by the people of Marseilles, nor the losses suffered by some of our neighboring communities downstream. Our losses were minimized, however, to a great extent because of the quick volunteer response of our citizens. In particular, the flood berm around our wastewater treatment plant would have been breached for the first time, but for the tremendous sandbagging efforts of our staff and a host of volunteers. If the berm had been breached, we surely would have suffered millions of dollars in damages. And I'd like to give special thanks to Fairmont Minerals, who just after one phone call delivered 8 flatbed trucks stacked with pre-filled sandbags in various colors, by the way. Without those bags, I don't think all the volunteers in the world could have saved the plant. And by the way, Fairmont Minerals refuses to accept payment for those sandbags. I want to thank them for their quick and generous response to our distress call. Incidentally, one of the other reasons the city losses were relatively minimal is the fact that over the past several years, we've eliminated many of the homes in our flood-prone areas. We also have in place a flood threat recognition and action plan, which was activated early in the process. And by the way, that plan is the #1 rated flood action plan in the state of Illinois. Most of what the city does is provide services, and I usually talk a little bit about the various services that we provide, and I want to do a little bit of that today, and then maybe talk more about our economic development efforts. With respect to the police department, under the leadership of Chief Brent Rolson, we continue to maintain its long-standing as one of the most professional and progressive law enforcement agencies in the area. This is done, among other things, through the continued support of established, successful programs such as the peer jury, aimed at keeping young first-time offenders out of the juvenile court system, and newer programs such as the department's child abduction response team, intended to create a quick, structured investigation and search process meant to bring endangered children home safely. There have been a couple of notable changes in the operations and personnel of the department. Our 911 center is now dispatching, their 911 center is now dispatching for the city of Marseilles. The 911 center has expanded physically, and we have added telecommunicators on staff. This is a good example of municipalities working together to share resources and operate more efficiently in these challenging economic times. On September 27th, Detective Sergeant Randy Baxter concluded his 20 years with the department. Randy's knowledge and dedication to the department will be missed. We wish him well during his retirement. And K-9 Officer Gussie, a 2-year-old yellow lab, joined the department in August. She's not replacing Randy. I was going to change the order of this, but it was already on film and I couldn't do it. But anyway, Gussie completed her training and has been on the street for about a month now with her K-9 handler, Robert Nellis. On the 3rd of September, Gussie made her first arrest for drugs. So, good girl, Gussie, I guess. Last month, 2 new officers were hired and sent to the Police Training Institute. Matt Nadanovich and Kevin Reynolds are excited to start their new careers and will soon be on the road for their field training. Last month, Corporal Darren Schmitz, a 24-year veteran of the department, was promoted to the rank of sergeant. Sergeant Schmitz will continue to be a patrol supervisor. And at the same time, Officer Mike Cheatham, a 12-year veteran, was promoted to the rank of corporal. And Corporal Cheatham was also assigned to the Detective Division for his new assignment as Corporal of Investigations. We continue, as in the past, to assign 2 Ottawa officers to the Illinois Law Enforcement Alarm System Mobile Field Force, a mutual aid program that allows Illinois law enforcement agencies to provide mutual aid assistance in times of need. The Mobile Field Force is a specialized unit designed to provide rapid, organized, and disciplined response to tactical situations involving such things as the distribution of pharmaceuticals from the National Strategic Stockpile, weapons of mass destruction incidents, as well as other more conventional and common events. The Ottawa Police Department also continues to show its greener side through the continued successful support of the prescription pill and drug disposal program, or P2D2, That program provides a site where unneeded drugs may be dropped off for safe disposal, no questions asked. To date, the department's P2D2 drop box has collected more than 4,000 pounds of prescription drugs. Under the oversight of Commissioner of Public Health and Safety Ed Whitney and Fire Chief Jeff Newberry, who manages the operations of the fire department, 29 employees of the department, including a records clerk and 3 shifts of firefighters, man the operations. With new hiring criteria which we've put in place and the continued education of our personnel, the department is the busiest and most proactive department in the county. In the last year, the department has witnessed the retirement of 23-year veteran Captain Ed Taylor, 20-year veteran Captain William Manley, and 27-year veteran firefighter Steve Bybee. And we wish all of them the best in their retirement also. This has allowed for the hiring of firefighters Ryan Tiemann, Brandon Segerbrook, and Jacob Nowinski. And all 3 of those firefighters are already paramedics because we require that now before we hire them. And they've graduated from the Illinois Fire Academy in Champaign. And I was told just an hour ago that we hired a new firefighter today, Jordan McDonald, and I'd like to welcome all of those gentlemen to the department. I'm also proud to announce that the city received recently a Class 3 ISO rating, that's the Insurance Service Organization, effective November 1st. This is a 2-class rating improvement. We were a 5, now we're a 3. You get lower, it's better. And this will have this 2-class rating will have a significant effect on homeowners as well as the owners of industrial properties by decreasing insurance premiums significantly. This rating was achieved through improvements made in the water supply system, as well as the increased training of the fire department and improvements made in the communication center in our police and fire station. Ottawa now has the highest ISO rating in the county, and there are only 65 communities in the entire state of Illinois that have a higher rating. Not only does the city continue to provide paramedic service for emergencies, we also now provide non-emergency inter-facility transfers. Already 11 of our 21 paramedics have completed the 32-hour critical care course at OSF St. Elizabeth Medical Center. This allows for inter-facility transfers of patients needing advanced care, such as ventilators, medication IVs, or chest tubes, increasing our ability to provide a better and more advanced service to our community. And with the addition of a 3rd ambulance in our fleet, we're allowed to provide these non-emergency transfers. And by the way, we charge for these, of course, and we make a little bit of money that helps pay for the operations of the city. Approximately 85% of the city's call volume this year was for medical emergencies, both in the city as well as surrounding areas. The city recently signed an agreement to continue to provide ambulance service to Wallace Fire Protection District for an annual fee. Another example of intergovernmental cooperation. We are proposing and working on a similar agreement for the village of May Plain. In addition to responding to 2,500 medical calls per year and approximately 450 fire calls, our firefighters train both in the field as well as in the classroom to enhance their skills and capabilities, logging over 240 hours of training per individual per year. The fire department has been proactive in training its members to respond to county and statewide emergencies as members of MABUS, which is the mutual aid system. 5 members serve on the hazardous materials response team, and 7 members serve on the technical rescue team. We continue to partner with industries within our area to train for emergency events. We recently had a disaster drill in cooperation with SABIC, LaSalle County Emergency Management, MABUS, and the OSF St. Elizabeth Medical Center team to test everyone's response and capabilities in an emergency. We also had 1 captain and 1 firefighter through training and an interview process qualify for the State of Illinois Urban Search and Rescue Team. The fire department participates in fire prevention and education activities in the community, which include visits to schools, fire extinguisher training for various organizations. Although the department's public education program deals mainly with pre-K through 4th graders, this year we've expanded our program to reach out to junior high students in a kitchen safety program for students involved in home economic classes. The fire department's public education programs also reach out to all members of the community. Fire and fall prevention programs for the elderly are offered at local assisted living facilities. Local businesses have capitalized on fire extinguisher and evacuation drill training, and the fire department makes regular appearances at local safety fairs and community events most recently Oktoberfest, making contact with about 200 children at each event. The department also has increased its participation with the city building and zoning official by taking a more active role in code inspection. The fire chief is currently updating the city's emergency operations plan. In cooperation with all department heads and city officials, this will ensure the city is following FEMA's requirements for NIMS, which is the National Incident Management System. If you have a major disaster, everybody works under the same system. You have to know how that works. I'd like to talk a little bit now about our Public Works Department, which is headed by Bob Schul. In the Water Division, I can tell you that we've continued to provide quality water for the residents and commercial customers in Ottawa. Employees maintain the distribution system, which consists of water mains, storage towers, hydrants, water service lines, water meters, and a water and sewer billing and collection service. This past year, the membrane filters in the water treatment plants were replaced. The scope of the project was to remove and replace the old membranes, which date back to 2002, when the new reverse osmosis system went into operation. City staff systematically removed from service one filter machine at a time to install a total of 840 membrane filters, 40 inches long, without a disruption in service to our community. This did not go without a hitch. While removing the last 3 membranes from the stainless vessels, a few membrane filters became lodged and required replacement of 3 vessels. This delayed the end of the project for about 60 days, but thankfully the cool beginning of summer kept water demand low, and by mid-July, the last water filtration system components were ready to go. Another major project this year was the rehab of the last of the 5 above-ground water storage facilities in Ottawa. The south side standpipe was painted inside and out. Containment curtain was used to keep sandblast particles and paint from being spread throughout the neighborhood. And the standpipe went back into operation on August 1st, sporting the stylized graphics that we have on all 4 of our other towers. Wastewater Superintendent Bob Brick tells me that having water filtration systems and water towers out of service has given our water operators a better understanding of the complexity and the redundancy of Ottawa's water system. And finally, in an attempt to reduce postage and save on paper, the Water Department and Sewer Department started offering paperless billing last October. This works as an email attachment to a customer's email account so that you can print your own bill. And of course, we already offer auto pay, where you can have the bill automatically withdrawn from your checking account. And if you haven't done that, it's good. I've done it. It's one of the few things that I tell people to do, and I actually did. And it's great. Now, with respect to the wastewater division of Public Works, our progress continued to be made on the sewer separation project. Ejector pumps are being installed in targeted homes in the community to eliminate sewer services that have not been correctly connected to sanitary sewers. Approximately 30 such service sewers have been identified. The wastewater department staff is using approximately 6 sewer meters to narrow down the locations where excess storm flows are entering the sanitary sewers. Meters like you saw in the picture there. The data is then graphed and analyzed by the engineering staff to identify and quantify problem areas. And I've been told to explain that the first graph shows the flow data for a week with no rain. The green shows the 0 rain, that's at the bottom, and the red line shows what happens when you actually have rain and water in the sewer. Keeping that in mind, sewer televising is also an important tool used by the wastewater division staff. Here's a short clip showing flow from a service sewer into the service main. Note the manhole identification numbers, the pipe size, the date, the time of inspection, the number of feet and inches from the manhole. It's all recorded there. The first rush of water is at 2:02 p.m. and the second rush of water is at 2:06 p.m. Now it's not raining, there's a lot of clear water going through, which indicates that there's a sump pump improperly hooked up to the system. So we have ways. The recent notice that was included in the water and sewer billing asked all sewer users to inspect where their sump pumps discharge and where it's connected. The engineering and plumbing inspectors are willing and help with the evaluation and advise any citizens on how to comply and correct the problem. And the problem here is that excess flow into the sanitary sewers contributes to basement flooding and could overload and will overload the treatment plant. So there's areas of town where we have problems in flooding, and if we don't address them in this fashion, they're just going to continue to occur. Street Commissioner Dale Baxter is tasked with the job every year of determining which streets will be improved. This year's primary street project was Poplar Street, widening and complete reconstruction with curb and gutter. This completed the project from the very top of the hill to Norris Drive, which started with a $1 million complete rebuild of the Poplar Street hill a few years ago. This year, the city also resurfaced approximately 24 blocks of streets and alleys, and we also replaced crumbling curbs totaling about 10 blocks. There were no funds this year for a brick street restoration. The city, through the street division, also greatly expanded its Leaf yard waste drop-off project. Previously, yard waste drop-off sites were only available on a few Saturday mornings in the spring and fall. Yard waste dumpsters now are located at the street garage and are now available from early spring through fall, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the convenience of Ottawa residents. Our street superintendent, Gary Erickson, tells me the drop-off is very popular with our residents. A little bit about our park system. The City of Ottawa's Playground and Rec Board spent the past year overseeing the near completion of the Lincoln Douglas Park Complex project. In 2013, the board aggressively implemented its plan to provide more parking for the baseball facilities. A new parking lot will serve Massanelli Field and the Ottawa American Little League fields, as well as the new nearly completed baseball and soccer fields. To serve the number of adult softball players, the board built a batting cage just west of Roy Sanders Field. Rec Board continued renovation of Reardon Pool by repairing aging cement work and diving platforms, and by adding trees and shrubs to create attractive landscaping. Although the weather kept attendance down, the pool fulfilled its commitment to be open all possible days and hosted many community events such as the All-City Swim Meet, the Citywide Open House, Business After Hours, a Family Pizza Night, and a Patron Appreciation Day. The Rec Board is also moving forward with plans to add a new playground and park on recently purchased land in the northwest section of Ottawa. The board also approved a comprehensive park plan and sent it to the council. Additionally, the board worked closely with the City of Ottawa Parks personnel and the Ottawa National Little League to replace aging play equipment and add trees at Varlin Park. And at the Ottawa Pony League field, the Rec Board partnered with the Pony League to construct new brick dugouts. But just as important as the facilities are the youth and adult programs sponsored by the Playground and Rec Board. The summer youth program continues to have supervisors at all of the parks, an Ottawa tradition unique among surrounding communities. The summer recreation program featured over 50 special activities, camps, and clinics, teaching skills from art to basketball, bowling to photography, sewing to volleyball to wrestling. Overall, Ottawa Recreation summer activities served more than 3,800 young people from Ottawa and the surrounding area, an 8% increase over last year. And the Rec Board continues to work with the dedicated volunteers of the youth leagues to make sure that facilities were available for the summer sports for the benefit of over 700 young athletes who participated. Additionally, the board works closely with both of our local high schools to share facilities for the benefit of our young people. The Rec Board's long tradition of sponsoring outstanding adult softball continued this year at the June Gross and Roy Sanders Fields. This year, 52 men's teams and 18 women's teams vied for league championships in the summer leagues, while 22 men's teams and 10 women's teams played in the fall. Overall, the City of Ottawa sponsored a total of 18 weeks of recreational softball. And adult recreation does not end with softball. Again, Jane and Rod Shomas volunteered their time to host dance lessons. Roz Sesto of Energy Yoga sponsored free sunrise yoga classes on Saturday mornings in Washington Square Park. And a favorite of our senior citizens, the annual Harvest Dance featuring Class Act is scheduled for October 20th at the KFC, and last year we had about 175 big band and dance enthusiasts at that event. That's the event I get the most thank you notes from, too, by the way. These dance enthusiasts really enjoy that. The 9 appointed volunteers of the Playground and Rec Board, its pool director, its recreation director, and Commissioner Dan Austin take their responsibilities to the City of Ottawa seriously. Every expenditure is scrutinized to ensure that the board is responsibly adding to the recreational opportunities in Ottawa while keeping the cost reasonable for participants. Let me talk just a few minutes now about some new services that have been provided in Ottawa. The first is our public transit. For years, LaSalle County organizations which serve the disabled, the poor, the homeless, seniors, and those with acute health conditions, veterans, and many more, have recognized the need for a system of public transportation throughout LaSalle County. Today, of course, that need is in many ways even more evident. 3 years ago, after studying the matter for some time, and while almost $1 million in federal grants accumulated, the LaSalle County Board decided that it was not in a position to take on the task of administering a countywide public transportation system. At that point, rather than lose this opportunity and the funding, the City of Ottawa decided to step forward and lead the effort to provide public transportation all across LaSalle County. While learning how public transportation works in Illinois has been a bit challenging, I'm pleased to report that as of July 1st, the North Central Area Transit System, or NCAT, is up and running. The key step taken earlier this year was an intergovernmental agreement between Lee County and the city, and Lee County operates the Lee-Ogle County Transportation System, or LOTS. Under this agreement, Ottawa is the NCAT grant administrator, but is very ably assisted by LOTS and its executive director. The actual bus transportation is carried out by Ottawa with its fleet of 6 buses, along with buses from its partners, Illinois Valley Community Hospital and Horizon House in Peru. NCAT is also developing partnerships with hospitals and social service organizations. For example, St. Mary's Hospital in Streator has dropped its patient transportation program in favor of contracting with NCAT, saving the hospital tens of thousands of dollars, and again, an example of efficiencies that are occurred by working together. Although growth has been moderate due to a lack of buses, and we do have quite a few more in the pipeline that we're going to get through grants, NCAT is now providing approximately 200 rides a day. NCAT is funded by state and federal grants totaling $1.2 million per year, along with fares, donations, and service contracts, such as the one with St. Mary's. Ottawa has also been awarded a $500,000 grant to build a NCAT bus barn on property which is owned by the city near our street department. And I want to say that getting this project off the ground has really taken a lot of work and effort, and Reed Wilson, Nancy Stisser, and Commissioner Dale Baxter have all been very involved in ensuring that this happens. Perhaps the infrastructure project with the most far-reaching potential impact on the city and the county is the iFiber broadband project. After almost 3 years of work, the $69 million project to lay 900 miles of fiber optic lines, including approximately 190 miles of fiber throughout LaSalle County, is almost complete. I'm sure you have noticed the bright orange conduit being laid throughout Ottawa during the past 2 summers. This conduit now has been laid to City Hall, our police and fire stations, our water and wastewater treatment plants, the street department, our Southside Fire Station, and our Clinton Street Water Treatment Facility, and our water towers. While the system is set to go live by the end of the year, due to an existing contract, it will be the spring of 2014 before the city will contract with a private sector internet service provider and become part of the iFiber system. Having access to this type of high-speed, unrestricted broadband will have profound future impact for the city. We are especially pleased to see this incredible project nearing completion, as the City of Ottawa was the original proponent of bringing the fiber optic network and its enhanced broadband access to LaSalle County. Taking another step, which will surely be followed by many other cities, Ottawa is piloting a project to replace its regular street lights with LED lighting. Initially, the street lights downtown on LaSalle Street and on Veterans Drive at Stevenson Road will be changed to LED lighting. This will amount to a 79% annual savings in electrical usage of about $8,000, plus about $2,500 in annual labor savings because the bulbs will not have to be changed as frequently. Much of the project is funded with a $9,000 grant from the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation. And using over $970,000 in grants, the project to buy out and demolish the last 9 houses in the Fox River Flats area is in its final stages. We have closed on all of the properties, and some of the buildings are now being used by our police and fire department for training. All will be demolished within the next several weeks. The elimination of these repetitive damaged properties will add an additional 2 full city blocks to the already beautiful Fox River Park. Our building official, Mike Sutton, who also serves as one of our floodplain managers, is primarily responsible for the completion of the flood buyout program. Since working for the city, Mike has become quite an expert in floodplain management, learning a lot, I'm sure, through his flood experiences here in Ottawa. He has given floodplain management presentations across the country and was recently honored as the national winner of the 2013 Community Rating Service Award for Excellence presented by FEMA at the National Flood Conference, I think it was in California. So congratulations to Mike. At this point, I'd also like to note out that this flood buyout program is going on for about 15 years. It started before I became mayor and is an example of the long-term nature of the solutions to some of our problems and the patience, persistence, and perseverance that is required for these kinds of projects. One person who has been around the full 15 years and has administered the program most of that time, and that is Nancy Stisser. And you'll see a picture of Nancy here with IEMA Director Ron Davis, taken in 2000 in front of one of the properties, and a more recent picture standing at the same site. And if you want to know any questions about the history of the flood buyout program, Nancy's the one, and we thank her for all of her efforts. Ottawa has continued throughout the last year with solid development and investment in the private sector. The permitting activities fell just short of $20 million. That's $20 million worth of new construction for the previous 12 months. Most notable is the Phase 4 project at Pleasant View. A new wing is almost completed on the Hearthstone building and scheduled for occupancy before the end of the year. And on the residential front, we added 10 new homes and 8 new condo units. And in May of this year, the Stowe Group opened the new $6.1 million senior housing facility on Champlain Street. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about our economic development efforts in the city. The City of Ottawa has developed an aggressive and diversified three-pronged approach to attracting new business and new jobs. We are focusing primarily on the following three general areas. Number one is the Ottawa Industrial Park and the area set aside for industrial and distribution growth on the north side of Ottawa. Second is retail growth that we're encouraging on the north side of Ottawa near Interstate 80. And third is our downtown area and our downtown waterfront. Let me talk just a little bit about each of those. First of all, with respect to our industrial efforts, the Ottawa Industrial Park on Route 6 East is one of Ottawa's most effective tools for attracting industry because of the following attributes. It has immediately available land with options on additional land. We have valuable transportation resources in terms of rail, barge, and nearness to state and national highways. We have available incentives such as Enterprise Zone and TIF. We have large electric and natural gas availability. We have fiber optic capacity. We have installed water, sewer lines, plus detention ponds and storm drainage. And we have all the environmental permits already in hand. Nobody has to go out and check for wetlands or unusual species or anything. The goal of the City of Ottawa is to have one of the top and most attractive industrial parks in the state of Illinois, one positioned to quickly supply prospects with all the necessary amenities. With this in mind, we are moving ahead with a $4.7 million plan to further upgrade the industrial park's infrastructure with rail service and utilities. This Phase 2 project should break ground in the spring and is expected to be supported with more than $3 million in state and federal grants. Despite a great deal of success resulting in the creation of more than 2,000 new jobs during the past decade, the area north of I-80 still has a great deal of potential. Perhaps the primary reason these available sites have yet to be used is that they are located in the North TIF, which has only 3 years left before it expires. The life of the North TIF will very likely need to be extended if further significant development is to occur in that area, and we'll be working on that in the next few months. The City of Ottawa is currently responding to a site for a new business. We're told that we are the primary chosen site if we can deliver the incentives that are needed and the needed infrastructure. Their chosen site in Ottawa needs Enterprise Zone and TIF benefits and also needs improvements in the streets, water, and sanitary. If it comes, Ottawa will be the company's corporate headquarters. There will be initial capital investment of about $18 million and 200 to 300 new jobs within 2 years. We are in the process of doing what it takes to get that project to land here. We are working to add the property to the Ottawa Enterprise Zone and to the commercial TIF. In addition, we are applying for state of Illinois grant funds, much like we did in the case of Kohl's and PetSmart for infrastructure improvements. To some, it's disappointing to have to expand a TIF, but it would be far worse, I believe, to pass up this great opportunity that's going to bring investment, construction, and new jobs to Ottawa. And we found out that without these incentives, the companies will not locate here, and this company will not locate here, and could easily move to another state. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about our attempts to improve retail growth on the north side. Late in 2012, the City of Ottawa made a major commitment to aggressively attract more national brand retail businesses by hiring the retail coach to assist its retail recruitment efforts. With its assistance, Ottawa has been able to make many more contacts with targeted retailers and developers and supply them with the market research which demonstrates how they can be successful in Ottawa. As a result, the city is already being seriously considered by approximately half a dozen new national brand retail businesses, along with a number of developers. Seeking developers is important because of the economic development opportunities presented immediately by the former Walmart building, which has recently been put up for sale, and the future opportunities along the downtown waterfront. The former Walmart should be attractive to developers, having been used as a school recently. It's in excellent physical condition and should easily house 3 or 4 businesses. Of course, the former Walmart is the last of the 3 big box empty buildings which characterized and blighted the north side for too many years. The former Value City building now houses a very attractive, absolutely state-of-the-art Bill Washford Kia dealership. And the old Kmart building will soon house an RP Lumber store, a family business headquartered in St. Louis, which has more than 50 outlets. The Ottawa store is projected to be one of its largest and will feature building supplies, kitchen and bath design, and supplies and much more. O'Reilly's Auto Parts and Hibbett Sports have also opened in this area during the past year. And Fairmont Minerals has purchased and expanded its office facilities into the former State of Illinois office complex on Etna Road. The city has done its part to make this area more attractive by adding new sidewalks and soon streetscaping to the west side of Illinois Route 23. The city hopes to add a striking and very visible Welcome to Ottawa sign display next year. Now let me talk a little bit about downtown. The very obvious and critical emphasis in downtown during the last few years has been the streetscaping done to support our gardening and botanical arts brand. While the streetscaping has made our downtown beautiful, it has also brought about an economic revival with many new shops and restaurants. And when combined with the ongoing restoration of historic buildings, an ambiance is created, which causes people to want to visit, shop, do business, and increasingly even live in downtown Ottawa. These new downtown businesses include the following, which have opened in the last year. Bash, which as most of you know is probably a unique gourmet burger and sushi restaurant, which is opened in a historic building on Jefferson Street. Avant Garden, located in the former Montgomery Ward building, features a very wide variety of creative handmade and homemade items, along with a monthly special indoor marketplace. Odeum Stage, utilizing the character and charm of yet another historic building. The Odeum will be opening soon and will feature live entertainment such as community theater, comedy, musical concerts, and much more. And actually, one of those nights, Julie Johnson and I are performing in a play called Love Letters. So we just have to read letters back and forth. Another new store is the Your First Stop Shop Liquidators, which is next to Obie's, the Fox's Den Women's Store in the 700 block of LaSalle Street. And expanding and relocating to the downtown area is a current Ottawa business, Jamaican Metan, which will be moving on Court Street. And then it's a few blocks outside of downtown, but I also want to note that Corretto's is opening soon. And then also we have 3 businesses that relocated within the downtown business district, so they're not new, but again, it shows a commitment to downtown, and that is the Book Mouse, Annette Barr's Photography, and the Dance Shop. Perhaps the most amazing preservation project in the downtown area is the restoration of the exterior of St. Columba Church. Watching this $3.3 million renovation project has been exciting indeed. The project represents not only the parish's commitment to its faith, but also, I think, to the city. and reminds us of the important role that St. Columba has played in the history of Ottawa. Facade improvements this year included the Illinois Office Supply building facade, which harkens back to its original look. Remax Realty facade, which had signage improvements and some fix-up on the building, and the second floor facade at occasions across from the courthouse. And I want you to take a look at that, because that is the new facade, which looks absolutely like the old facade. It even looks, the brick is stained, it looks old, and that's done with a faux brick, which I was very leery about, but it actually turned out very, very, very nice. Incidentally, we're discovering that site selectors seeking places to make major new businesses and industrial investments often begin their search by visiting the downtown. Their thinking is that communities with vital and thriving downtowns are special places with a clear vision and progressive attitudes, and thus good places for new investment. This means that even Ottawa's industrial park and the north side investment areas are benefiting from the good first impression caused by the appearance of downtown Ottawa. And a quick note on the commercial value of historic restoration. 2 years ago, Ottawa was able to place most of downtown, actually 156 buildings, in a National Historic Commercial District, making them eligible to receive federal income tax credits for restoration. Since then, a much stronger focus has been placed on purchasing and restoring historic buildings for commercial usage. At least 2 were purchased this summer for restoration purposes, with several more under serious consideration, including the long vacant Little City building. Regarding the downtown streetscaping plan, this year Ottawa has already been awarded $900,000 in state and federal grants, which will cover most of the costs of the next 2 major streetscaping programs. These projects include the 200 block of West Main Street, which we hope to have completed in 2014, and nearly a 5-block stretch of Columbus Street running from the bridge, just north of the bridge, up to Lafayette Street, and this is projected to be completed in 2015. Both projects will feature the addition of historic period lighting that is similar to that which we have on the South Street. By the way, I noticed that Representative Frank Martino are here and Senator Sue Rezin, and a lot of these things that I'm talking about, it requires the cooperation of our representatives, and I want to acknowledge their presence and their help in many of these projects. So thank you both very much. The downtown streetscape project for this year was the 200 block of West Madison Street, with engineering and general contracting done in-house. And I got to say that Arnie Banster, our assistant engineer, and Bill Betcher and Tammy Huffel worked together in doing the design and the overseeing of the construction of the projects. And we've been doing this pretty much with LaSalle Street, and they're getting very, very good at it. The plant selection was by Stephanie Stacy of Gardens Gate Garden Center and Landscaping, and it features an interesting collection of plants and trees, some that we haven't used before in downtown, like bald cypress and tulip trees and so forth. Makes it a very interesting walk. At this point, it's appropriate to recognize, I think, the hundreds of volunteers who serve the city of Ottawa. Perhaps the most readily visible are those that you see downtown working in the gardens and on the beds. But we have a host of others, probably several hundred, who work on various boards, committees, and commissions, dedicating hundreds of hours each year. And it's important, I think, that we also recognize the good work that they do. Further enhancing the vitality of the downtown area are a growing number of festivals. Just launched last week, Oktoberfest, and I've got this thing, was sponsored by Ottawa First. It got off to a strong start with the delicious German food, German music, a yodeling contest, children's activities, and of course, beer from the Leinenkugel Brewery, which was the main corporate sponsor of the celebration. Some traditional native German costumes are also evidenced, I'm told. The Midwest Morel Fest, did I talk about the Stein yet? Did I? Okay. Sometimes I don't remember. Okay. The Midwest Morel Fest again featured a good crowd and improved venues for the Morel Museum, which was in the 807 building this year, and Morel University, which was at Obie's. Interest was heightened in the event by the addition of moonshine and old-time soda concessions. Thanks again to the IBEW and Heritage Harbor, for their sponsorship and support. The Ottawa Two Rivers Wine and Jazz Fest continued to grow and flourish with another record crowd, many of whom enjoyed the dynamic headline performance of Ottawa native and Grammy Award winner Stephen Hawke. Spurred by the social media marketing of the Ottawa Visitor Center and advertising on Chicago radio stations, many of the attendees came from the Chicago area and visited Ottawa for the very first time. Special thanks goes to Larry and Karen Keist of Little City Contracting, who are our main sponsor, Simcoe Recycling, the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the Illinois Grape Growers and Vintners Association. With the exception of a rain day on Friday, Ottawa Riverfest 2013 was a great success. The expanded and upscaled food selection in the Chef's Block and a fine selection of music featuring great cover bands were crowd pleasers. Thanks again to our main sponsor, OSF St. Elizabeth's Medical Center. And once again, the Downtown Merchants sponsored a wonderful Ice Odyssey and the Scarecrow Festival, family favorites, both of which seem to continue to grow and have become major contributors to the vitality of downtown. And yet another tradition that Ottawa celebrated for a long time, the Festival of Lights Parade, helped launch the holiday season downtown. Now I want to talk a little bit about the downtown waterfront. This is very exciting to me. While the downtown is clearly flourishing and becoming more beautiful every year, you kind of see some of the hanging baskets there, downtown Ottawa now has an absolutely unprecedented economic development opportunity. And I'm referring to development of the city-owned 21-acre downtown waterfront, primarily the site of the former Central School. As you probably know, the city purchased the property from the Ottawa Elementary School District earlier this year, and demolition of the school is nearly complete. We are now in the midst of a comprehensive planning process funded by a $100,000 grant and led by Ginkgo Planning and Design, a firm from Orland Park. A main component of this effort is the design of a master plan for the riverfront, including the school site and the Jordan Block. The Downtown Waterfront Master Plan effort offers a unique opportunity for Ottawa to develop a waterfront amenity and gathering space for residents, as well as create a major regional waterfront destination. The main principles of the master plan may include extending downtown to the waterfront, creating a major gathering space, engaging both sides of the river by including design ideas for Allen Park, and establishing a continuous riverwalk connecting the existing riverwalk with the downtown waterfront site, and then extending it back to the Ingham Canal Trail. One major challenge that the development plan will have is reorienting the downtown to face the waterfront. Currently, the waterfront area is behind Main Street, and you basically see backs of buildings. The master plan will establish opportunities to develop new buildings that would overlook the waterfront. Other possibilities for the site could include a music venue, botanical gardens, boat docks, a winter ice skating rink, a community center, maybe that aquatic fitness center that we've been dreaming about for many years, restaurants, and a new hotel. Whatever the final elements are, a bold move for the major waterfront destination will strengthen Ottawa's identity as a regional and state tourism destination and will be a game changer for the downtown and the future of Ottawa. 14 years ago, when I delivered my first State of the City address, I quoted Daniel Burnham's famous line, "Make no little plans, they have no magic to stir men's blood." At the time, I proposed what I thought were some big plans, some of which were accomplished, but most of which really don't seem that big now. But this is big. This is really big, and we have to do it right. We all realize the beautiful location of the site, but I don't think we all appreciate the enormity of its size. Our lead consultant with the Ginkgo Group, Farat Zareen, personally played a part in the design of Millennium Park in Chicago. As vast as Millennium Park seems, she has shown us that the entire park, including the large Great Lawn, the Pritzker Pavilion, the Bean that everybody knows about, the Crown Fountain, the ice rink, and all the other amenities could fit on the Central School site with room to spare. And that basically is Millennium Park, up between the river at the bottom and the top of the hill above Central School at the top there, with Main Street being the dark brown line. In the case of Ottawa, the planning process has attracted a great deal of public input at meetings and people just sending their thoughts to our consultants. Many of those submissions were lengthy and some included drawings and diagrams. Remarkably, the suggestions made by Ottawa citizens were largely in the same vein. Features such as a riverwalk, plaza, a band shell, a harbor and marina, a festival area, a civic community center, and gardens were all on the priority list. Our planners tell us that all of those things, if we wanted them, could easily fit on the site. But this is not just an opportunity for the city, it's an opportunity for private investment. One of the first things we need to do is define what areas in and around the Central School site in the Jordan Block should be private development opportunities, which should always be public, and which might offer a public-private partnership opportunity. As I said, one of the concepts involves bringing the downtown to the waterfront through the construction of buildings on the back of Main Street. These could be 2 or 3 or 4-story buildings. The architecture could be traditional or something exciting and new. And the uses could be mixed and varied. Think about it. Wouldn't it be great to live in a condo or apartment or loft overlooking a beautiful park in the Illinois River, maybe adjacent to a fitness center and hiking trails, and within walking distance to shops, cafes, restaurants, and the amenities downtown offers? Already we have developers coming to Ottawa and expressing interest in this opportunity. With this in mind, I'm challenging local investors and developers and contractors and lenders, by the way, to seriously consider stepping forward and taking advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity right here in their hometown. The master plan is not nearly complete, and nothing by any stretch of the imagination has been finalized. However, I do want to share with you a couple of thoughtful concepts that have been developed to generate discussion. The first one here provides for an amphitheater of sorts, including a great lawn, which could be used for festivals situated in the center of the property. It also includes a small harbor cut into the property to provide for sheltered boat docks. One idea is that the westernmost part of the site, where the track now exists, should be reserved for community buildings, with private development moving to the north edge of the current school site. Another interesting and perhaps bolder concept includes a larger harbor with the amphitheater offset to one side. Again, the land of the west could be public buildings, a library, a museum, a community center, a fitness center, an aquatic center, or a combination of these. There's plenty of room for building and parking on that area. Our planner has suggested we might want to start thinking about multiple civic uses sharing that site, affording opportunities to share parking, meeting rooms, and maybe even share personnel. In both plans, there is still plenty of room for gardens and play areas and farmers markets and cafes and many other potential amenities. By the way, I wanted to read this. That Burnham quote I read 14 years ago, there's a little bit more to it, and this really kind of sums up, I think, what we're facing here. Daniel Burnham, who of course is the architect and the planner who designed the Chicago's waterfront, is responsible for that beautiful lakeshore. At the time, he told these people out there, make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood, and probably themselves will not be realized. Make big plans, aim high in hope and work, remembering that a noble, logical diagram, once recorded, will never die. So I think that's the reason we have to be very careful in how we plan this. And it can take 10, 20, 30 years to build. In fact, when Millennium Park was designed, our consultant tells us they didn't know there was going to be a beam there, or they didn't know there was going to be a fountain there. They just kind of created rooms. They kind of created areas. And then over time, depending upon resources and ideas and whatever, the individual areas will get developed. So now let's come down off the clouds a little bit. And let me touch on several local gems we already have, which lend a character and charm to the city that the residents and our visitors so deeply value. Without a doubt, the crown jewel of Ottawa's historic architecture is the Reddick Mansion. The building has been rated as perhaps the best example of preserved Italianate architecture in the state of Illinois, and it contributes greatly to the ambience of downtown Ottawa and is becoming a significant tourism attraction. In recent years, the Reddick Mansion Association, with the expert guidance, leadership, and hard work of Twyla Yednock, has placed an emphasis on beautifying the mansion grounds and gardens and developing a certified heritage herb garden, which was the type that might have been used by Mrs. Reddick. Twyla also was instrumental in advancing the installation of a pergola, which is now being constructed on the mansion grounds. She's also been a great volunteer in our gardens downtown. As she will soon be retiring and leaving Ottawa, I want to thank Twyla for her many years of wonderful volunteer work. And Twyla's out here somewhere. By the way, a comprehensive study of the historic preservation needs facing the mansion is almost nearly complete, which may lead to a grant which could be the basis of a significant preservation effort at the mansion. Over the years, I've had many of our senior citizens tell me how great it would be to have water in the I&M Canal. And many of them remember when there was water in the canal. We agree, and under the leadership of Arnie Banstra and the Ottawa Canal Association, are moving toward the goal of rewatering about a seven-block portion of the canal between Walnut and Guthrie Streets. A key step is the agreement of the Illinois National Guard to provide one of its engineering units with a training exercise of excavating and restoring and recontouring the canal, a step which would save at least several $100,000. Although the Guard was not able to do the project this summer as we had hoped, Arnie is working to secure its involvement in 2015, while in the interim obtaining the necessary state and federal government permits. The rewatered canal would have a moving current to avoid stagnation and would be a great place to canoe, paddle, boat, kayak, and fish while serving as a heritage tourism attraction. We also have some interesting historic neighborhoods, and as a result of the 2011 Historic Building Survey on Ottawa's East Side, the Historic Preservation Commission utilized a certified local government grant to prepare an application to designate the East Side neighborhood as a National Register Historic District. The application has been submitted, and we are awaiting the result. And in February of this year, the city received another certified local government grant in the amount of $11,000 to conduct a historic building survey on the city's west side. The survey area includes major portions of Ottawa Avenue and Illinois Avenue for a total of 235 properties. Granicki Historic Consultants has the project underway. The city's Historic Preservation Commission, I think, is credited with advancing both of these projects. And one of the most exciting things to happen to Ottawa in the past year is the building of an unprecedented partnership with the Conservation Foundation to create the Dayton Bluffs Nature Preserve. Located in the corridor between Illinois Route 71 and the Fox River on the northeast edge of Ottawa, this nature preserve will set aside 253 acres of beautiful forests and ravines along with some farmland. The goal is to gradually restore the native forests, which once covered this area, while providing public access for passive recreation uses, such as hiking and biking. Of special importance will be the ability to preserve a mile of Fox River shoreline. The City of Ottawa will enter into a long-term lease agreement with the foundation and annex the property to the city. Thanks to Jerry Hollerman and Dan Reynolds for making this property available for sale to the foundation. And in fact, Jerry will be hosting an event, I don't think he'd mind me sharing this, an event at his home on Friday, October 18th in the evening as a fundraiser to help raise funds to help in the restoration. Establishment of the preserve will be a major step forward in the long-term plans of the city to extend its Riverwalk, creating a Fox River biking and hiking trail from downtown Ottawa up the Fox River all the way to Interstate 80. One of the city's key economic development partners in recent years has been Heritage Harbor. Heritage Harbor continues to grow, with 2013 already being its most successful in terms of residential sales, marine occupancy, and new product development. New development projects include the River Row Carriage Homes. The new 6-unit luxury townhomes called the West Harbor Lofts are under construction, or I think they're almost done. And in addition, the cottages at Heron's Landing have enjoyed great success in their first year of availability for vacation rentals. More of these cottages are now under construction. The Ottawa Visitor Center has experienced the same growth and tourism experienced statewide in 2012. Over 10,000 visitors have graced our events within the past 12 months, and its continued promotion of the Ottawa Botanical brand, the Visitor Center was able to bank on the popularity of our hometown boy, Walt Willey, who was featured in a national commercial campaign. Also playing an increasingly important role in attracting tourism to Ottawa is the Illinois River Road National Scenic Byway. The byway runs 291 miles up and down each side of the Illinois River from Ottawa to Havana. Thousands of potential visitors check out its recently updated website, turning to the Ottawa tourism pages more than any other byway community, including Peoria. Midwest Living magazine has named the byway as one of its top 25 all-time favorites, ranked at number 9. Ottawa has a strong byway presence. In addition to being a gateway community, The Byway has moved its headquarters to Ottawa earlier this year from Peoria, and in partnership with the North Central Illinois Council of Governments, and they're located now down on Chestnut Street. Another exciting thing that's happening in Ottawa is the development of Starved Rock Country. For a number of years, we and especially the Heritage Harbor leadership have believed that huge economic development opportunities in the area of tourism were not being realized in Ottawa and throughout the Illinois River Valley. After all, with 2 million or so people visiting next door Starved Rock State Park, and most of them driving right past Ottawa, why were our shops and restaurants not benefiting more? The answer, of course, is that a great many of these visitors had no idea of the huge number and variety of things to do in the 25 to 30 mile radius of Starved Rock Park. I'm very happy to be able to say that that lack of awareness about Ottawa and the Illinois River Valley is changing with the launching of Starved Rock Country here in Ottawa. The Starved Rock Country brand campaign is sponsored by the Times and its parent company, the Small Newspaper Group. And I want to recognize John Newby for taking the leadership and being aware of the entrepreneurial opportunities that are available here. And as you know, this isn't just a promotional campaign or an advertising campaign. Starved Rock Country is also beginning to do programming. Most recently was the relay concert that played to a full house at Ottawa High School. The new and aggressive approach could not have come at a better time for Ottawa. With our new festivals, our downtown revitalization, and upcoming waterfront development, along with the quickly growing promotion and marketing abilities of the Ottawa Visitor Center, Ottawa is strongly positioned to reap the benefits of a major increase in tourism. We're looking forward to working closely with Starved Rock Country. I know that some question the value of tourism and having to deal with a lot of extra people and visitors in town, but we need to remember that the new shops, new restaurants, new entertainment venues, and much more will attract tourists who are available, that these things are also available to be used by our citizens here in town. In fact, with these very same tourism amenities, which will help us meet the challenge of keeping our young people in the area and attracting badly needed skilled and white-collar workers who leave or do not come to Ottawa because they mistakenly believe there's nothing to do here. So this development of tourism, these amenities really also helps in attracting the people we need to further economic development efforts. I spent a considerable amount of time in last year's address describing the American Bloom national competition in which Ottawa had entered. I predicted it would be a very positive experience for Ottawa in terms of getting more people involved and moving our downtown beautification efforts forward. I'm here to tell you that the American Bloom experience has met my expectations and more. We had very strong leadership thanks to Stephanie Stacy and Melissa Rubacava and our outstanding steering committee members. And Melissa and Stephanie are at the front table here. I want to thank them for their efforts. They did a great job. We also had strong financial support from businesses such as our primary sponsor, Crystal Metals, Ottawa Savings Bank, and a host of other businesses and individuals. As a result of this competition and our Ottawa is Blooming local campaign, we called our campaign Ottawa is Blooming, the City of Ottawa has never looked better. Extra efforts were made by businesses with planters and new landscaping. People all over town planted flowers and spruced up their grounds. The efforts included the removal of what I call pointless asphalt around the downtown area, including these locations. In all cases, the asphalt removal was accomplished without any loss of parking and allowed us to green up these areas. Most recently, we resurfaced and installed planting beds around the parking lot on the east end of the Jordan Block. A similar project was completed on the public right-of-way at the Caldwell Banker parking lot. Much excitement was generated by the competition, and we almost won, finishing second in our population category by a narrow margin. I had the pleasure of accompanying Stacy and Melissa to Orlando, Florida for the American Bloom Symposium. Our efforts resulted in a rating of 4 blooms out of a possible 5, a remarkable achievement for a first-time entry. We ranked second only to Calabasas, California, a rather unique place that is home to the Kardashians and Justin Bieber. Calabasas also has an annual landscape budget of $6 million, which means, I suppose, that Ottawa ranked first place for communities with landscape budgets of less than $6 million. However, Ottawa did place in the top 3 of all population categories in one area, and that was overall impression. And that was not just cities in our population, all of the cities that participated. We were ranked in the top 3 in overall impression. This strong showing was based on the cleanliness of the city of Ottawa, the good condition of its streets and shoulders, and the nice-looking appearances of homes and neighborhoods. Ottawa also received 2 special mention citations, one for having transformed downtown Ottawa from being a concrete desert just a few years ago to its current beautiful condition. And Tammy put together some pictures. I think there's some before and after pictures here that are kind of remarkable. I don't know why we changed that one, though. And then the other special mention citation we got was for our flood management efforts. An important benefit of the American Loom participation is the list of recommendations for improvements received from our judges. Our committee will be reviewing them, one of which is already being met, and that is the establishment of an Ottawa Community Garden Program. And garden plats have already been prepared at the site, which is on Dayton Road, just east of Gardens Gate Landscape Center. Bottom line, I think, is that taking part in the American Loom competition made Ottawa a better place for many years. And our committee will be deciding in the next few weeks whether they wish to enter the 2014 competition. I'd like to talk a little bit now about our city finances. The general corporate fund budget adopted by the city was again balanced for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2013 and ending April 30th, 2014. City Finance Commissioner Wayne Eichelkraut, with the able assistance of our treasurer Don Harris, guided us through that process. We might mention that our city clerk Shelley Muntz is also very involved in this process. The city council is disciplined in its adoption and administration of the budget, realistically projecting revenues and making sometimes difficult choices to control expenditures to function within the city's means. Particularly challenging has been the fact that approximately half of the city's revenue is from local property taxes paid by our citizens, and the equalized assessed valuation of all taxable properties in the city has declined now for 3 consecutive years. Total city expenses for all uses is approximately $43 million. The general corporate fund, which is the primary operating account of the city, excluding the water and wastewater departments, is budgeted at $14.6 million, which, as noted earlier, is balanced as to revenues and expenses. The city appreciates the fact that city employees and their various bargaining units have worked with the city to efficiently manage payroll and benefit expenses. The city's collective bargaining units all agreed to no general wage increases for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2013, and generally a 2.25% increase for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2014. The city's appointed employees also received general increases in the area of 2.25% for this fiscal year, after no wage increases for the prior 3 years. The city does not balance the budget simply by payroll expense control, but this is a critical area in that it represents a significant portion of the city's operating expenses. The city and its employees have worked together to make Ottawa function as it should, notwithstanding a difficult economic environment. Many municipalities are concerned about 2 recent separate laws that can threaten the vitality of their budgets, the viability of their budgets. One is the authority of local public pension boards to divert state-collected local government revenue to make up for employee contributions that fall short of actuarially required contributions. In other words, there are communities that they don't pay into their pension funds what they're supposed to do. The state's not going to give them their sales tax, they're going to give it to the pension funds. The other new law is the so-called Cadillac tax, which is an excise tax that will penalize employers if their group health insurance plans are too expensive, coupled with inordinately low contributions from their employees. This is not a concern for the City of Ottawa, and I believe further reflects the cooperative partnership between the city and its employees. The City of Ottawa has always contributed the full amount of the actuarially recommended contribution to its employee pensions, and employees have been helping to control health insurance expenditures and contributing to the cost of their coverage for many years. The city's debt has been refinanced where possible to take advantage of lower interest rates. No new debt was added this past year. Sales taxes have been more promising of late and are reflective of a generally improving economic environment. So certainly, this is not a message of economic gloom. Instead, I believe it indicates the resilient nature of the community, the prudent fiscal management of the City Council while maintaining and not neglecting the city's important infrastructure, and the ability of the cities and its employees to work together for the common good. Incidentally, the city recently has been informed that we will qualify for over $165,000 in reimbursements from FEMA for eligible expenses incurred as a result of that April 2013 flood event. Through careful documentation of manpower and other expenses incurred, that comes to about 75% of those actual costs. So that's going to help the budget balance again. I'd also note that the city's self-insurance health benefit plan continues to comply with requirements mandated by the Affordable Care Act. Plan participants should be pleased as a decrease in claims and reinsurance and administrative costs will provide for a reduced premium equivalent in 2014. So every year I have to send a letter to our employees saying your insurance is going to go up or down, and this year I get to say it's going down, so that's good. Finally, helping our balance sheet are the various grants the city has received. I've mentioned several already, but in summary, Ottawa has received notice of approximately $2.9 million in new grants this year, and we are currently administering another $5.7 million in grants previously funded. And I'm not going to go through them, but there they are. And we also have about $3 million in grant applications pending. One final comment I'd like to make about a recent addition to Ottawa. The city continues to be very proud of to host the only satellite campus in the 90-year history of IVCC, right here in downtown Ottawa. Purchased and renovated by the city, the center was leased to IVCC in 2010. From its opening in the fall of 2010 through this past summer, the center has already served 4,400 students. Remarkably, Ottawa students planning to eventually attend a four-year university may earn their first 2 years of college credit right here in the Ottawa Center with hardly having to leave Ottawa, oftentimes saving themselves and their families tens of thousands of dollars. And in many families, in many instances, this can be the difference between going to college and not. It's my understanding that the IVCC credits now transfer almost seamlessly to every public university in Illinois. I want to congratulate President Corcoran and the IVCC Board of Trustees on one other thing, their new Community Technology Center, which will be opening soon. The 80,000 square foot, $23.5 million building will provide a real boost to the City of Ottawa's economic development efforts. So even though it's not located here, it's going to make a big difference in our recruitment. I think President Corcoran's here today along with Jane Getz and Everett Solon, two of the trustees, and I want to thank them for all their efforts here. And before I conclude, I'd like to thank my assistant Kim Siz and Tammy Houghton for helping me put this presentation together. I think the photographs make all the difference in the world. In conclusion, I guess I'd say I think it's been a good year for Ottawa. When I was in Orlando a few weeks ago, one of these speakers talked about not livable cities, but lovable cities. A livable city needs to have good infrastructure, and it needs to be safe. But to be lovable, it needs more. It needs to be comfortable, somewhat easy to live in. It needs to have conviviality, meaning it has to have things to help bring us together. But on the top of the pyramid, it has to be fun. And Melissa Rubikava kept telling me, use the pyramid, so here it is. I think we want to be more than a livable city. We want to be a lovable city. And that happens when the citizens go above and beyond and do extraordinary things for their communities, leaving little love notes, if you will, along the way. Finally, I have to say that I continue to enjoy being mayor and actually find it to be fun. I'm so lucky to work with a great council and a great group of professionals, department heads, support staff, and employees who all seem to be on the same page. And I hope also find it fun to help make good things happen in Ottawa. I don't thank them enough, and sometimes I don't thank them at all, and I wish to do that at this time. I'd also like to thank all of you in this room who also have given good measures of yourself for the benefit of this great place. Thank you. Oh, I went way over. Never mind.
Yes, you did go over. Believe it or not, this is the first time in the history of me doing this. Did you leave anything out?
I don't think so.
Okay. There are no questions. One last comment, and then we can all go back to work. I personally feel, as I think probably most people do here, we are more than fortunate to live in such a wonderful community. We are grateful to have people like Bob, people on the council, and the people that serve this community, the likes of which cannot be found in any other community probably in Illinois. Thank you. Have a great day. We're done.